My Tutor in More TNT encourages you to walk with us as we remember this day in history. Friday, 27th July 1990, a day that will be remembered as the day there was an attempted coup in Trinidad and Tobago. On Friday, 27 July 1990, members of the Jamaat al-Muslimin armed with guns were part of an attempted coup d'etat in Trinidad and Tobago. A coup d'etat is otherwise called a coup. Yet still, what does that mean? The word coup means a sudden, violent and illegal seizure of power from a government. In other words, the members of the Muslimin were trying through violent and illegal ways to take power of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The members of the Muslimin were led by Imam Yassin Abu Bakr. The Jamaat al-Muslimin is an Islamic group in Trinidad and Tobago founded by Yassin Abu Bakr. Here we see their compound in Mukarapo Road in Trinidad. Their leader Imam Yassin Abu Bakr is a former police officer who changed his birth name Lennox Phillip when he converted to Islam. Parliament was in session at the Red House in Port of Spain, the nation's capital, when 42 members of the Jamaat, armed with guns, stormed the building. The following is an excerpt from the CCN TV6's 1990 special that was aired in 2009 that shows the sudden takeover of the Parliament building.
As the assault began at TTT at 6 o'clock that evening, so too did a violent and coordinated attack begin at Parliament. But it would be days later before these images would emerge.
The then Prime Minister A.N.R. Robinson, together with other members of Parliament, were held hostage at Parliament for several days. And whilst the members of the Muslimin held them there at the Parliament, they also had stormed the only station, the TV station at the time in the country, the Trinidad and Tobago television station, or it was otherwise known as TTT. It was there that newscasters and members of staff were held hostage and were forced to carry on broadcasts to inform the country of the Muslimin's intentions. It was that evening of July 27, 1990, at TTT House in Maraval, that Yassin Abu Bakr informed the country of his and his Muslims' attempts.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago was overthrown. The Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet are under arrest. We are asking everybody to remain calm. The revolutionary forces are commanded to control the streets.
And as the country was put under martial law, citizens were thrown into panic. And despite calls for them to stay calm, persons took the opportunity to loot. Places were burnt and other places totally destroyed as citizens ran havoc in the nation's capital. Persons took this opportunity to engage in stealing and looting.
It was as if the country had gone mad. Citizens were breaking into stores and stealing what they wanted. Stories have been recounted of workers in these stores locked in bathrooms and beaten. Microwave ovens were stolen not because of the convenience they provided, but because they were mistaken for television sets. There was no uprising by the people, as Imam Yassin Abu Bakr was contending. Rather, they just stole, all in contrast to Bakr's calls.
We're asking people not to involve in any looting or any form of unlawful actions.
July 27, 1990 produced tangible insanity in Trinidad and Tobago.
What sort of madness came over these people?
I was only 8 years old when the events of 1990 happened, an entire generation away from it all. But looking at now what was left then is an entirely different experience. Mr. Tony secretly went into downtown Port of Spain with his security detail to survey the damage. They drove around for an hour.
What did they hope to achieve by that? You know, it was...
And as we continue to see the damage and destruction that was done to Port of Spain, it will all come to an end. On Wednesday, the 1st of August 1990, the day that we celebrate our emancipation, members of the insurgent group surrendered. It was 6 days later that Yassin Abu Bakr walked out of the Parliament building, followed by the men and boys who had walked with him on this journey to overtake the government, and surrendered. The country looked on as we saw members of the Defense Force regain control of our country, as Mr. Bakr and the rest of the Muslimin were taken into custody. At least 24 persons lost their lives during the events surrounding the coup, and many others were injured. However, we remember the names of these 9 persons in addition to everyone else who would have lost their lives and their livelihoods during the coup. In an attempt to ensure their recognition and their memory, the Eternal Flame and 1990 coup attempt memorial was erected in front of the Red House to remember these persons. Each year, on the anniversary of the 1990 attempted coup, persons would lay wreaths, light candles as they paid homage to those who lost their lives. The refurbished Red House now has seen the relocation of the Eternal Flame and the memorial now to the northern side of the Red House, closer to the First People's burial site. And as we continue to look at footage that would have shown the carnage of 1990, we remember the looting, the violence, the lives that were lost, the businesses went up in flames, the moments of uncertainty, and one of the darkest days in our country's history. I encourage you, much as we place so much emphasis on the international history, let us start to look at ourselves, look at where we've been, to understand where we are now, and to forge ahead to where we have to go as we continue to keep the red, white, and black flying high. 1990 should never be forgotten. And if you don't know your history, then you don't know anything. You would just merely be a leaf that doesn't know it is part of a tree. Thank you for walking with my tutor and more TNT as we remember Friday 27th July 1990, the day that there was an attempted coup in Trinidad and Tobago.